Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started. We're going to become present first. There's a lot of information that has come through and is so prepared for you. So we need to really become present in the room today. So take a big breath, hold it for a moment, slowly let it go. Feel yourself sink into your body. And one more big breath, hold it. A little sigh, relax into your body. Just one more. This one's going to go all the way down to your feet. Big breath. Release it. And we are ready to begin. We are so pleased you're here. And as we've said always, we've waited for you your entire lives. But today, we decided to prove it to you because today was one of the most powerful days you will experience in your life, the rest of this lifetime that you might have, which is why we have done all of this. None of you knew that we were preparing this, not even our messenger. So we've driven him crazy for the last several days because we wanted you to understand how important you are now. The message that we gave you on the screen that you saw, we want all of you to have that. On 2008, on this date, you will wonder, well, how could that have happened? There's an organization in your universe and you are organized, meaning that you came into the world at a precise time with a genetic code that was meant to do something that would cause your world to become much more than what it is now. Now we know that that may not make sense to you because you're looking at your lives or examining your lives and your world and thinking that hasn't happened. Well, that's because everyone was waiting for you. That's what this was about. And so none of you could have known, but we've been guiding you all along. There are transitions that happen in your world, and they're energetic transitions. And so none of you could have figured this out. Our messenger didn't know that we had given him a full philosophy to take you through what we've called your restructuring, which is where you are now, which looks a little chaotic. And we said the United States would lead the way, which many of you could not understand, but you're seeing it today. This is why we gave you the second message when we began having our messenger give you live conversations. You see, because he wasn't going to do that. Like, you haven't done that next thing that's right in front of you. We know it's you. It's all of you. Because if you had done it, then your world would look quite different than it does now. You wouldn't be fighting one another. You wouldn't have wars. You wouldn't have climate change. You wouldn't have any of that because we've said we've given you everything that you could possibly use to correct all of it. Because we know that what will happen is that when you use it, you will live the best life ever. But you couldn't understand that because you haven't seen it yet. So what we did is we had our messenger do several things, and many of you might have felt the energies in the last several days, actually. And so our messenger was motivated. We motivated and we told, sit down and put together several gifts to give them so they'll understand how consciousness changes over time. That's all you're ever doing is working with your consciousness. Now, you're living at a time now, however, where that has become far more important for each of you than you could have ever known. When our messenger started speaking, he said that we have what you need most, and that is your consciousness, control of your consciousness, because everyone else is going to try to take it from you. That's what's going on throughout your civilizations, and this is why you feel afraid and you've been, stymied by the fear that's out there. But we've said you're empowered. You have so much within you, and we know that, and we've given it all to you. We've given you the way to find it. We haven't given you your answer. We've given you a way to uncover it. Now, no one could have believed that. Our messenger didn't believe it. No one around him believed it, not his family, no one. So we had him sit down and put it all together. But then we waited because, see, we wanted the advent of artificial intelligence to come about. And so then, and because many of you might have heard, we've told him that his lifetime was meant to come in and marry science, spirituality, and human development, which he has done. But you all are doing that in different ways. And so the artificial intelligence was a great adjunct to this because then he could take the messages that we have given him and then see that they were energetically aligned to this day. And we've left it for you because we had him write it all down. We had him do part of it just this morning because we wanted to show you that what we have given you is energetically aligned to your universe and the changes. And this is why he healed. This is why we told you that you could. And this is why we said your world could do the same thing. But then we also said you have cognitive dissonance, you see, all of you, including our messenger. He couldn't believe that he's done this. You can't believe what you could do either. But that is the joy of your life, which is why we gave you that message in 2008. You see, because you set yourself up with different challenges and difficulties as you look at them. We look at them as opportunities, though, because you're creating this new world. So what we did is we laid it all out because as you're seeing these changes happen, we said that in 2012, you had another big change, which none of you could have known. Our messenger didn't even know that we had given him that information, which is why we said we had given him information on your birthday in 2012, if he were to meet you, because then there would be an energetic alignment. You all have that. You're never in accidental places. You're guided to being in different places. You just wake up to them at different times on your evolutionary journey, but also when it was important in your life, but also in your world. What we are saying is that each of you exists now to shine, to thrive. That's why we put those messages out there, because that's an energetic contribution you will make. The second message that we had when we finally convinced our messenger, we said, you have to start talking. He wasn't going to do that. See, you all hide from yourselves. He was doing that. Today is the day we wanted you all to break free, and that's what he is doing because he wanted to explain to all of you, because none of you could have known what he was doing his entire life, not even his family. We want to say that because they've been so confused. No one will be confused after today. That's what we wanted for all of you, because there's no reason for you to suffer or struggle to get what you want to have in your life because it's within you. You just needed a way to uncover it. Now, why would you need a new philosophy? Because you've developed so many others where you're always developing new ones. And this is why we kept talking about all the people that we've used to bring you this one. We went back to the Hermetic principles because we wanted to start at the beginning, because we don't see you as bodies. We see you as souls with worth and value that just needs to be developed. You've now, over your civilizations, you've created other things. You start seeing each other as different races and genders, and this is why you make yourselves less, and you start carrying around a consciousness that tells you that some people are better or worse than others. And we've said always there's no hierarchy of souls. You each are that equal. You just develop it in different ways. And so over time, you will develop new philosophies because societal changes have caused it. See, what we did, we said there's something that you're not doing. This is why you keep having all the difficulties in your lives and in the world, because you haven't addressed the fact that you haven't looked at all races and ethnicities of people. You leave some out because you think some are better or worse than the others. How could you live that way? How could you expect to become a whole human if you still have that in your consciousness? So what we did is we took our messenger and we had him move through it. We took him back to write, and he's written all of it so you can see it. You wonder, how did he heal? Well, we had him address all those systemic biases and trauma that has been in his life, because it's within all of you. You can't come into the physical plane without having some of those, but it's deciding whether or not you're going to let go of them. That's the biggest deal. And that's what we did today. And there are no restrictions. We have given you a being who was taken our work. He took 36 years and sat down and just wrote it every single day and went through every human difficulty that you all have experienced and complain about all the time. And they're gone. And he's 74. We have to keep saying that because there's disbelief that you all have about what you might accomplish in your lives, but more importantly, at this time, what you can accomplish in your world. You see, because we have given you the plan to heal your world. And we can say those words now because most of you will hear it and think that's not possible. And we say, why not? And you can't give us an answer, except that you're not willing to change individually and collectively. That's all. But we've given you the path. Now we can't, you can't depend on anyone else out there to change, for you to have the life that you're supposed to have, because you're supposed to have this great life. We've said that always. You are meant to live an extraordinary life. We've just given you a plan to be able to do that. Now, none of you know the plans that you're going to live when you come in. Our messenger didn't know he was going to do this, and he resisted it. He resisted it throughout his entire life, and he understands now that his resistance was also what caused his illness, what caused his diseases, his accidents, all of that. And many of you have done that. But now's the time where you can move beyond it. And so when you see the little gift that we're going to give you, we gave you the astrological aspects of this particular day because you're all connected in different ways. And so when you understand how the energies are moving and the grand opportunity that you have today to create the life you want, eventually you're going to see the world you all want to have. You see, because no human who was ever born that said, I'm going to come in and just live this, intentionally live this horrible life. You don't do that. You learn. And so we've given you something more that you could ascend to a higher state of consciousness for all of humankind. That's what we've given you. And so now what we want to do is answer all of your questions because we know that so much more will come through within that.
Okay, we've had a lot of you submit your questions beforehand, which is amazing to see. So I'm going to go through all the questions that we have received when you registered, and once we get past all of that, we'll start taking your questions from the chat if there is still time, and I'll keep everyone posted on that. Okay, so let's move into question number 1. Hi, Wilhelm. I have gained a lot of clarity through meditation recently. It has led me to the point where I have to let go completely of my victim mentality. As I am stepping into this new version of myself, I feel whole. Thank you for your guidance so far. I feel like I can step into my intuitive guidance now as the sovereign soul that I've always yearned to be.
We can't thank you enough for that. And guess what? You're going to do even more today. That's why we prepared the gifts for you, because when you go through the gifts, because you're already on that path and you've awakened to so much. And now, as you use what we're going to give you today, you'll be there even more. And you're making such a great contribution to the restructuring of your world. And we can't thank you enough.
Hi, Wilhelm. I recently quit my corporate job and started my business venture. I launched a clothing brand and it feels exciting and nerve-wracking. I'm finding myself in a bind of doubt and maybe doing something else. Can you give me any insight or advice during this time of my life? Thank you.
We'll tell you all because that's why we have the second message on the screen there about the money and control and power. See, you've all been hypnotized to thinking that your worth and value is based in the material things, and that's money. And this is what you're seeing in your world right now. We said when we first began, that was the message that we started with because you have allowed yourselves to be controlled by money and possessions and material goods for eons, you see. And then when you don't have it, you think something's wrong with you. So then when you start to find the things that you want to do that give you joy, you can't do that because you've been programmed to think that you have to stay in this job that's going to keep you stuck and not give you the freedom and the abundance that you could have if you were just to embody your authentic self. Now, why wouldn't you have done that? It's because you've just been programmed to think in insecurity. That's all. And we have other messages that we gave you in this string of messages also about subservience. Many of you have allowed yourselves in your consciousness to become subservient in your lives now, but also in your lineage. We mean the generations that are moving through now. And so we wanted you to start to become more abundant. So you're on the right place, in the right place. Now you're going to, and the message you'll see, we've given you, and the very first one about faith. You know you want to do it, and you'll be uncomfortable, be afraid. This is why we had our messenger write the book on fear, because that's the thing that holds you all back. However, you're in a different place now because the world, your planets are in a different place. And so you're grabbing hold of this energy right now at the right time, and we're so pleased. And now you're going to have another little injection that's just going to shoot you to the stars. Thank you.
Two-part question. Does Roger teach how to be a channel, or do these entities just choose a specific person and contact them? And when channeling in a non-English speaking country, does the channel understand and answer the questions in the native language of that country or their own language?
You all have different gifts. Now, let's tell you this. Now, anyone can be a channel. You all have connections. you hear things. Now you won't necessarily call it channeling, and many of you, it's not your path to go out and do it. But for you it is, because that's why you asked the question. We love it because it's coming about for you and we can feel it. You're starting to see it and you can trust it, and you're just going to do it by yourself in the beginning so that you can become comfortable with it because you're making a connection to something else. Now, and you all have different skills and abilities. Now, about someone being able to channel in a different language or understanding a different language, yes, there are people who have that. We're talking about this because we've said before, you have the neurodiversity that many of you are coming up with, you should embrace. Our messenger couldn't do that, which is really astonishing for him, but we pointed out to him why it was important because he did something no one else has done, and it was really challenging. You're coming up with something now that you're investigating, and you said, is this possible? We want you to investigate it because you're supposed to do something in there and you know it. So just take time and keep asking the questions, and we'll keep offering you guidance to get there. Thank you.
Dear Wilhelm, can you comment on the completion of the pole shift by 2030 and the changes that will follow with the new North Pole position slightly north of Hawaii and the South Pole in South Africa? Additionally, will the close passage of Apophis meteor in April 2030 have any impact on the pole shifts? Thank you.
All of the shifts will have an impact that you make. we're so glad you brought that up because if you want to investigate that, please do that because you'll probably bring some awareness to so many others. However, not everyone will go into that place. There are many different realities that you each can move into, but we would love for you to stay in this one. But if it takes you into discovery, those other things, please honor that because that means your higher self is telling you that's what you should do. And so you will start to understand that there are certain gifts that you will develop, all of you. You don't have your gifts fully actualized when you're born. You have to do that as you're coming through your life. So yes, our messenger is he's having, this is what we're having him do. He doesn't his teaching of channeling is quite different than many others that you might have seen because he guides you into doing it in your way. See, there are no rules. He gets you to feel your authenticity, and that's what he's putting into our course now because we kept telling him to do that. He started with just the automatic writing, but many of you can progress to so much more when you begin to trust it. So yes, that will be there. Thank you.
Dear Wilhelm, can you say that our true self is like a seed that blossoms when the planets align in a certain way, and that in the meantime, we gather experiences that we can later use when we realize our true purpose and express it in the outer world? Or is this not correct?
No, you're quite correct. You could have just done the session. We could have just left because you just explained it all. And that's exactly right. You move through and you uncover things, and then you keep going and you have information. The reason we've laid out, we want you all to understand something. Our messenger didn't even know why we were doing this. In his YouTube videos, you will see he has strings of, he called it his mini library because we had him put together several different messages over dates because we wanted you to see energetic connection over time. That's what happens in information and what you can understand in your consciousness and in collective consciousness. And this is what you're all moving through now, which makes it so brilliant that you're all asking new questions and finding more awareness. And that is what is happening now. Thank you.
Dear Roger and Wilhelm, so happy to meet you again. My question is whether the two business endeavors I have started are a true representation of my highest excitement, as it feels like both a yes and a no.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yes and no. They're both. And so and because it's there, we want you to answer it, you see. And this is what comes up in every aspect of your lives. You're going to have, you may think of it as duality, which you experience and everything, this or that, but for some of you it's going to be a combination. I want you to understand that. See, And we've laid all this out. We had our messenger find an explanation for why he has been turned out to be this person because it didn't make sense how he could been this business person, do music, and then come and do this. Some of you have different things that will merge at different times in your life experience, and so you have different things that are coming about now. But what we're feeling is that you love both of these things. And so we're thinking that maybe you're supposed to figure out a way to create something new, which all of you are meant to do, to bring into your world where you're combining those, you see, that bring something different. That's why we said our work is a combination of self development, personal development, however you think of it, self actualization, but also ascension, because we know that you each have a divine plan, even though you may not acknowledge that, we know that you do. And so when you connect to that energy, everything in your life begins to blossom. You're moving there. Thank you.
Dear Wilhelm, as I continue my journey to connect with Source and the higher realms, I wonder, are intergalactic wars real? If so, are there fake archangels? I came across a post suggesting that this might be the case, and it has caused me some trepidation. I wish to protect myself from it as much as possible. With love and gratitude for you and your vessel, Roger.
Thank you so much. And now we're going to talk about the ego because there are differences. And you all are moving through an ego. We don't see them as battles in that way. We just see them as the ego confrontations that you all have individually and collectively, you see. And so when you find someone that you think is this fake kind of what they're presenting is kind of fake, and you're sensing that, then we want you to trust your intuition, because they could be doing it out of their ego, trying to get something for nothing, so to speak. And this is why it's been a challenge for our messenger, though, because he has done exactly the opposite. He's given away so much and didn't accept for himself. Many of you have done that, and that's the shift that is occurring now, however. So what is going on? We want you all to understand this is an energetic shift of energy that's occurring now. And so each of you are supposed to come into more. We gave you that message that you'll see tomorrow, as a matter of fact, because we gave it to you last year. But we want you to understand that you're in that process now and you're still moving through it. And the more that you can grab onto the ownership of you, the better your life will be, and so will the world. Thank you.
Dear Wilhelm, thank you for all that you bring to us. May I ask, I'm healing from I'm healing from being one of the last survivors of Atlantis. Can you tell me how I am can you tell me how I'm doing, whether I'm ready to share my esoteric knowledge and healing methods with both humans and animals? My soul almost chose to leave the planet 5 years ago, but my deep
Yes,
love for my children made me stay.
yes.
Also, if it's possible, can you provide me insight into my birthday,
Mm.
uh, which I have? Many wonderful thanks. And I do have the 2012 birthday message, and you can let me know to read it now or after you
Yes,
respond.
now. Yes, yes, please.
Okay, September 23rd, 2012. Instincts are spiritual insights given to you to help you guide and direct your physical life experience. They are never wrong, meaning that those instincts would not be apparent to you unless they were leading you in the direction that you would further your expansion in some manner. When you do not trust your instincts, it is a sure sign that you are operating from some underlying fear and you do not fully yet trust the integrity of your life experience. At times, those instincts might not lead you in a direction that is pleasant for you. However, the end result is always that you gain greater awareness and expand. That is all you ever intended, Wilhelm.
Now we can explain. We can interpret it. We're so glad that you're doing it. See, to bring up at Atlantis, that would be something that many of you think that doesn't exist. It didn't happen, and you don't know. But it's an idea. That's what, whether you have that physical place, it's the idea. And so you ventured into that idea, which could bring you a lot of criticism, judgment if you start speaking about it, but you know that there's a truth there. You see, because the idea there would have been that you all did something that wasn't quite right, and then you lost your whole world. Well, gee, you could be there now, right? And so you have that awareness and you're bringing it to all of us so that we can make different choices. So please keep doing it. And we're so glad that you had the courage to own that and even speak those words because not everyone does. And this is what's happening for many of you now as you're remembering your importance, your empowerment. And sometimes it takes courage because you've been put down for so long. And we wanted all of you to become so self-empowered. Thank you for that.
Okay, I just want to preface this real quickly, because suddenly I'm seeing some questions coming into the chat. Um, if we answer to a birthday message, the only requirement that we have from this is that we need to get them before the session. We can't really look them up during the session. So when you submit your question, uh, we can provide that for you. So if you're asking for your birthday message right now in the chat, it's a little bit beyond the capacity right now to go and fetch and engineer at the same time. So forgive us for that. All right, moving on. Dear Wilhelm, I'm at a crossroads once again deciding the future of my profession. My old path has served its purpose, but it kept me stuck and away from my mission, something I refuse to let happen again. How do I come to terms with the lost opportunities that still haunt me and create more space for new ones? And what are the signs that I'm heading in the direction of my true mission purpose? With gratitude.
Everything you said are the signs except one we want to correct. You didn't lose anything. You were gaining that entire time so that you could come here now. This is why this day is so important for you. This is why the time that you were meant to move is going to be today. And you, when you read our things that we have given you, will understand why. So, but we just want you to change that one attitude. Many of you will move through your lives and think that all the things you did were just terrible and you were making these mistakes. You were not. And this is the idea that we have you correct because that's an energy that you place into your lives and into the universe. It does not serve anyone. You're all learning something and developing. You couldn't have known it before. That's called your life. That's why you have an adventure. And so, yes, you're moving in the right direction. We're giving you that confirmation. We just wanted you to let go of the judgment that you've placed on yourself because it just wasn't time yet. You all needed the time and the right time. This is why we had our messenger put out today showing in just in his evolution how today was the right time for him to move. We want you all to just accept that it's always now. That's the only thing. Your point of power is in the present. Thank you.
Dear Wilhelm, how do I become more focused on my goals and aspirations? Thank you.
Well, we gave you that message today in 2012. Focus. How could you have known? Now, we're going to answer your other question, though, because you're asking why you can't stay focused. And that's the more important and deeper question that you all have. And that's really because you're pushing yourself away from something that you want to do or that you're being guided to. That's all. And so many of you will feel that it'll go back and forth because sometimes you have to figure out, am I trying to do something because I'm being told that I should do that? Or am I trying to do it because it's really what I want to do? And I just have all these blockages that have been there forever. Some of them I don't even know why they are there, and maybe they came from something from my past, which many of you are experiencing now, which is why you are finding it your difficulty to move over certain places in your life because you have a lineage, you have connections that you're all moving through now, and some of you are not willing to let them go, which is why you're having the conflict. But for you are moving through them. We just want you to appreciate the process of what you're accomplishing now, which is really great. And all of you will do that. So again, none of you, please, you haven't done anything wrong. You haven't lost anything. It's about, do you decide to change now? Thank you.
Okay, and just to answer directly, real quickly, a question in the chat, where are the birthday messages? The birthday messages are from the Any Advice messages that were channeled through 2012. Currently, because of online shenanigans, we don't have that online.
Well, we want to inject.
Yes, please.
The messages work. when you will make if you make a connection with our messenger, that's when that energetic alignment is in place. We're not saying that you're going to necessarily go and find the messages and read them and they will make sense now. It's an energetic connection, and that's so we just wanted to clarify that. Yes, if you're in one of these sessions and you have sent in a birthday message beforehand, I mean a message beforehand with your birthday, then we can do it. But it's not just some random thing. We just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Wilhelm. And speaking of birthday messages, my birthday is September 26th. I would appreciate anything you can share about my alignment. And here's that message. December 26th, 2012. You worry because you expect the worst to occur. And because you expect the worst, what you receive is then felt and perceived by you to be the worst. These are subjective terms to help you gain the meaning. In actuality, nothing that occurs is the worst. However, you can experience it in that manner. Emotionality and mentality. What you intend to do with your physical life journey was to decide what you desire to create and contribute. Go about doing that while holding the belief that the universe will provide all that you need, and at the right time and in the right way. This is the true foundation of faith. When you hold this idea, worry never enters your mind, Wilhelm.
And that was the message. And so now, if you use that, everything's going great. Exactly where you are right now. And that's why you ask the question. You see, am I doing? Yes, you are doing, you're in exactly the right place. We want all of you to understand that, especially today. Because see, the more of you who get this, you're putting in a synergy of this energy that can help shift your world, because we really want you all to do that now, especially over the next several weeks. We have several dates coming up, especially on your we have a few things that are coming up that you'll understand. In February on the 12th, it's going to be another really wonderful time for you all. But you start doing it now, placing in your consciousness. Everything is about consciousness. You are the ones who are placing it there, and you can only ones who can do it. And so we're just guiding you how to do it really well. Thank you.
Dear Wilhelm, there has been a lot of talk about astrology lately, especially with the recent planetary alignment and full moon. Many people I've spoken to have felt like January was an emotional roller coaster. This makes me wonder about what February will bring and uh, my whether writing down my birthday for the session is significant. Do you have any advice for March 15th? Thank you. And here is that advice. March 15th, 2012. Do one thing. What this simply means is to do one thing at a time. It matters not what you are up to, but when you are able to devote your full attention to that one thing, you become much more effective at getting it done. You enjoy the process much more, and you are living in your moment of now as you always intended. The notion of multitasking is completely ineffective and uh, dissipates your enjoyment of anything that you attempt to do. This habit will also cause you to feel overwhelmed and become tempted to do nothing at all. The quality of the thing that you do fuels your expansion much more than the quantity of things that you attempt to do. Wilhelm.
We couldn't have asked for it. Feels like we just planned all of this. What we did, the universe planned it to get that question for all of you, because that's what we wanted you to see now. You may have several different things in your life that you have done before or want to do, or whatever it might be. But right now, at this moment, we want you to focus on what are you going to do next. That's going to be the most important thing you can do. All those other skills, gifts, abilities that you want to develop may come into play at the right time for you. But for most of you, we want you to understand that there's something in front of you we want you to do now. We're saying that to our messenger too, because this is the day we're having him move. So, but for you, we want you to look at all of those things that you might want to do, that you have done in your life, but now find the one that you love the most. That's what we want you to do. The highest form of energy any of you are going to have is love. But you see, you've talked yourself out of loving yourself so much. So sometimes takes a while to get back to even the gifts that you were given when you were younger that you could remember. But now is the time that you're coming back to it. And you'll see that in the descriptions of everything that we have given you about the energetic alignment of this day. Couldn't have asked for a better question. Thank you.
Am I a legend yet? I can't tell.
You are a legend when you were born. And this is what we wanted you all to figure out. And this is why we said certain things that just push all of you back because you said that couldn't be me. This is why we said you're leaving a legacy. And you each think about that. No, that's not me. Because you've been taught how unimportant you are or how insignificant. And we said, we've got to change that. This is why you're having this change in your world. And so that more of you can come to understand your significance. And so, yes, you are a legend because you were each born that way. This is why we keep saying those terms. It takes a while for each of you to understand. You were born that way. You were born perfect. You were born with everything. You just choose a physical life experience that gives you opportunities to move through the restrictions and limitations that have been along your path. That's all. Thank you.
What is my purpose here and in this world?
Oh, you just did it. Asking the question. You just did it. Your purpose was to ask the question because, see, most people won't do that. You did it. And now everyone will think about it. And that's what we have you do all the time is to ask those questions. We never tell you what to do because we know that what you can do and what you can accomplish is within you. So what we do is we just keep having you ask the questions. Now, why would we do that? It's because you have developed this cognitive dissonance, as we've said, but that's purposeful because you all have to have it. Otherwise, you can't create anything new. And so you keep moving through that little by little. Now, to understand how this works, we had our messenger show you because he did it every single day. The only reason any of you have not accomplished the goals you want is because you give up and you haven't had a way to keep going. And then that's how you effectuate healing in all senses of your life and also in your world. But yeah, you're you're all doing such great. Thank you so much for that. Mm.
Can music play a significant role in ascension? For example, can it actually heal or alter your core vibration?
Absolutely. It's the beginning of it. This is why so many of you are attracted to music first before you even think about something spiritual. Our messenger wouldn't have ever done that earlier. And he started in music because it connects you to something else. It has no, you see, music is just so indiscriminate. It just connects you to your soul. This is why when we're doing things with you, we don't even want to know who you are. We don't want to know your gender, race, none of that. Because see, then the biases come in. You all have them. And so in music, there are no biases there. You just have feeling and emotions, and you each deserve to have the best ones. So, yes, you were correct in that. Thank you so much.
Yes, and we have moved into answering the chat questions here. Is entity attachment something that we should be concerned with?
Only if you think you should be concerned with it. You will each have different experiences that you're going to have, and you have different jobs, we like to call them, that you're meant to do. Most of the jobs are dispelling illusions that many of you have had. And so if you think you have something attached to you, then you're supposed to investigate the way that you can get rid of that attachment. We don't believe that you can, none of you are bound by any attachments that you think you might have had because you always have a way to move through them. And as we've said, that is a journey in your consciousness that always brings you to higher levels of consciousness where you can transcend anything. And this is the information guidance we wanted you all to have. You can do all of it. And so that's what's going on for many of you right now. Thank you.
How do you increase the feeling of being worthy?
Daily. We wish we could give you another answer, but that is just it. But we thank you for that because uh, there are things that go on that many of you wake up at one time and think, wow, I don't feel worthy. That's just, what is it? And then some of you give up and some of you just decide to leave the planet. We had one person like that who left the planet, decided he's going to take his life. And we had told them beforehand, all you have to do is just examine yourself. But no, they weren't willing to do that. And so now what we're saying is, yes, we want all of you to ask that question and to keep examining who you are because there's so much more and it's going to keep evolving. Thank you.
I am in a relationship that drains energy. I keep trying to find ways to be away from home. I feel like my home environment blocks me from moving forward. I feel like a coward because I can't seem to move on. Will my journey change once I move out?
It'll change once you decide to accept yourself. It doesn't matter where you are. Okay, we want you all to get that. It won't matter where you are. It's only a matter of how much do I own myself. Now we don't. Let's go through this. We don't want you to judge yourself. You've placed yourself in that situation for a reason. That's why we gave you that message in 2008. You've given yourself these opportunities, you see, to move through some limitation that has existed within you that has caused you to stay in something that is not giving you the joy and support and love that you feel you want to have. And so there was a reason for that. And so you have to ask new questions. And because there's no reason you have to stay away from a home that you want to live in. So the result of this, and the solution is going to be gradually coming to understanding who you are, building that empowerment, deciding what you want to have, and then start moving toward that. This is where you all are at this point. But for you especially, but again, this process, we don't want you to rush off and do anything rash. We want you to first work on so much forgiveness for yourself because there's trauma in there that would have allowed you to stay there. So just forgive yourself, love yourself, do all of that, and then you're going to start figuring out the new place you want to go, and then you're going to find strategic ways to cause that to happen. And we don't know that it's not going to, we're going to say this. We don't want you to make, we're not saying that you leave this relationship. You could also find that there was something in the relationship you weren't seeing and you decided to shift it. And now it becomes something else that blossoms differently. We don't know, but we just know that we don't want you to judge yourself, but you've given yourself the opportunity now to move through something wonderful. That's why we gave you the message in 2008. Thank you.
Dear Wilhelm, thank you for sharing your knowledge. I have a question. I keep hearing that everything is one, that all is one, and I truly believe this is reality.
Mhm,
But in my human experience, I still see separation.
mhm,
Me, the world, others, and things all appearing distinct.
mhm.
How can I actually experience this unity, this all is one, in a way that goes beyond intellectual understanding and becomes something I truly live?
You did it by showing up here. Because that's why we attracted you. That's what we wanted you all to understand. But we do understand the frustration that you're not seeing it because you're not seeing it in yourself and you're not seeing it in your world. But that's because you're supposed to develop it within yourself. The more of you who decide to find this oneness, everything we have given you, you will understand is about that. You make separations between who you are and what your world, but we're saying it's all the same. And so once you start to come into ownership of who you are, then you're demonstrating that to others. Then you're starting to put into the collective consciousness a energy or an understanding of acceptance, you see, because you're at a place now where many of you are not doing that. You're doing separation. These people are okay, those people aren't okay. And so then you individually find difficulty in owning who you are because you all come from the different places. There's no one better. So you're coming up with something that's going to be so valuable for so many. The recognition that you're not seeing. And now we've said you we the reason that we said before, and many of you would remember, we said you didn't believe Jesus, Buddha, or Tesla. We talked about all the ones who came and brought you great information. So no, everyone didn't believe it. And we knew that you wouldn't believe us. So we had to keep our messenger giving you more things. But that's why you don't get to the oneness that you all see because there are just too many people not willing to move. However, but that's a perfect setup. We gave you that as well. That's a message we gave you in 2012. We said that this chaos always and always exists in human consciousness because then you start moving through it and you answer new questions and you come back to wholeness, and that is the wholeness that is within each of you. The more of you who do that, then you start to see a planet that reflects that information. Thank you.
When I ask questions now, I frequently receive the answer to embrace both instead of choosing either or. I keep hearing, quote, both and, unquote. Can you comment on this?
Yes, you're just a wise being and you're putting it all together because none of you are going to move through physical life experience without encountering both. It's just what you decide to do with them. Now, what we're talking about both, we're just talking about the qualities of energies, the kind of energies that exist within all of you. And you can call them negative or lower vibrational or higher vibrational or whatever it is. The vibrations do have a quality. So, but we said the reason we keep mentioning Tesla as well is because we wanted you to understand the power of energy and the power of frequency and where you're placing it and how often you're doing it. That's how you create everything, you see? And so more of you are coming to that understanding now. And that's why this period is so great for all of you. Thank you.
I need to make a decision about an investment now. Can you tap into my true energy? Yes, no. My ego is sometimes too loud to hear the answer right now.
We don't know how you're using your ego because it might be a little confused there. See, because most of you, what you will do is, I mean, we're speaking to the people who would be hearing this. I'm not speaking to a whole other group of people who might have something different. Because see, what happens is there's so many of you who come in who where your life is so much more about others and yourself. You know, you're not just only focused on yourself. But you're looking at a world now where you see some who are focused only on themselves and leave everyone out. And then you will find yourself guilty when you decide to accept something for yourself. You see, that's why we gave you that message again. You've been all been hypnotized to not believe in your inherent worth and value. So we just wanted you to shift all of that. And that's what's happening now. So we want you to start embodying the biggest version of yourself that you can think of. And we want you to stop judging your ego. We know that that's not you. We know that you care about others, and what you're going to put out there is going to give value, and it's going to be something that's going to bring you much abundance because of the heart that is within it. This is why we gave you the message, and you'll see all of these things. Our messenger's first message, where he struggled with that. He knew he had this ability and says, but what am I going to do with it? Am I going to hurt someone? Am I going to use it? Is my ego going to use it? No. And you will see that others are doing that to many of you because it shows a form of power. That's why we gave you that message. But you're here now to bring in this new world where it's about inclusion and acceptance and loving yourselves. And that's what you're doing. So we're so glad you're aware. Thank you.
How long will it take before we light workers work together with traditional doctors to heal people?
You're doing it already. Our messenger has done plenty of it. Well, in terms of information, but you're doing it already. You're just not seeing it. Many of your um, um, practices, your modalities are starting to meld together. That's what our messenger has done his entire life. He used Western traditional medicines. He used Eastern things. He used everything. And then we got him to the place where all he was using was his consciousness. And this is why we gave you all the information about your pandemic, because you're going to move into something else that you're going to deal with the same thing. We want you to understand it. You each have different levels of consciousness that you can operate within in this physical form that can cause results. We don't want you to judge yourself for whatever you might happen to be on that scale, on that spectrum. Our messenger had to go through, he went through every illness. He couldn't do anything without things breaking down. And then he started changing and he started saying, well, wait a minute, I don't need some of these things now because I've changed my mind. I changed my consciousness and I know how to do that. Now I'm understanding mind body healing. You will not all do that necessarily, but we want you to appreciate where you are and honor that, which is why sometimes we said, yes, if you're having a difficulty you can't experience, go to a doctor. But many times, for many of you during this period, you're having physical symptoms that have no explanation because it's the universe and the energies changing. So you each will move through that in very different ways. But you're all coming to that understanding of what is right for you, and that's what we want. Thank you.
What is your view on Earth's ley lines as energetic places and how they can be used to open our consciousness to help us see ourselves for who we really are?
if it's a part of your evolutionary path, it would open your consciousness to see who you really are. We love that so much because each of you will use something different. And those things are coming up for all of you now because you're wanting something new. You're wanting to understand. You're questioning what's happening in your world. And so you will use different modalities. Some of you will, we've spoken of this before about plant medicine. Some of you will do that. Some of you will just do body work or yoga or music, as someone said, sound bath. You will use something because what it does is it connects your frequencies, you see. And so you will find whatever is correct for you to break out of the limited third dimensional thinking that you have to use while you're in this existence. But we want you to think beyond that. And so now it's just time for you to become much more expansive, all of you. And so it's great that you're each coming to different awarenesses about that. Thank you.
Okay, and the final question here. Do I have to activate my pineal gland or is it always active?
It's always active. But we love that. Okay, it's always there. You all have it. You're just not really connected to it all the time, and you're not supposed to be because you're doing a couple of things. When you're your pineal gland, however you think of it, it's opening you to this grand consciousness. When our messenger was receiving us, he didn't know what he was doing. We're just going to be quite clear about honest about that. When he looks at those messages, especially the early ones, he thinks, where did that come from? You have a consciousness, an intelligence that exists for all of you, and you access it in very different ways, and whatever will work for you. And so, but we want you to know that it's always there. Just find something that gives you this place where you are seeing and hearing something clearly. And you know, oh, yes, that makes sense now. You won't do it all the time. You won't do it every day, or maybe very rarely. But when it comes up, just acknowledge it. That's there. But the first thing we want you to do is to stop thinking that you don't have access to it because you haven't done that, or you're not maybe not doing it correctly. You're all doing it. It's just that you don't pay attention to it. That's all. Because that is your consciousness. Every soul has it. So, and we're going to keep guiding more of you to open up to that so that you can create the magnificent lives you're supposed to have. Thank you.
Okay, we had two more questions sneak in, and these will be the two final questions for the session. Uh, when I want to manifest something, how do I hold it in my consciousness every day? Is it through journaling, meditation, and then just go on about my day? Because there are so many things that I want to manifest. Where do I start?
Okay, we want you to start by not doing all of them. That's the first place we want you to start. Okay, so we put something in the other day. We had our messenger sit down and we verified this astrologically as well. So we want you to see that. I will put that link in there as well, where he went back to the time he wrote himself a check for $10 million. We've mentioned this before because he came to this realization, wait a minute, I've discovered something that's really valuable. It should give me that much money. Now he did that many, many years ago. It didn't happen because it's still coming about now. He knows that it's in the works, but then we had him do something where he checked it out when he wrote it, the message that we gave him on that date, and it was all aligned. We put that in there for you all to see. But this is what you're all doing right now is manifesting something, and we want you to use something that works for you where you don't discount it. What we're saying by that, it's like your New Year's Eve, when you make this big grand New Year's Eve resolution and then you don't do it the next day, and then your brain is chart. Well, I gave up on that. I can't do it again. We want you to just take something and just start moving to it. That's all. And it's just a step at a time. It's never going to open up all at once, but that's just so opened up for so many others because you're all doing the same thing. Thank you.
All right, and our final question of the session. Any advice on dealing with toxic family members? I'm stuck living with my parents again, and I have been dealing with a lot of disrespect, especially regarding my children. I plan on moving out as soon as possible, but it's going to take at least a month.
Mhm.
I used to be very intuitive, and I feel like this environment is diminishing my abilities. What do I do while I'm stuck here?
Well, we'll tell we're sorry we're going to say this to you, but we want you to appreciate it. You're stuck there because it's going to help you evolve your intuitive abilities. They're not stuck, they're not gone away. You've just not allowed them to the fruition that they could have now, especially on this day, and that's why you're stuck there. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at all those folks and you're going to say, I wonder what they're giving me now because they're in my experience. What am I learning from them? Why are they there? Why did I attract them? Do you feel the shift in that energy? I'm not being burdened. I'm getting to look at them because they're going to help me activate something. I know it's not going to be forever because I'm going to be leaving. But while I'm here, I want my experience to be joyful, and I can control that because I can control my thoughts. I don't have to be subjected to what they think because I know that they're just helping me see the higher part of who I am, and that's what I've always wanted. So thank you so much for doing that. That's what you're going to say to them, and that's what you're going to say to so many other that come into your experience in that way. Thank you.
And that was the final question. We are complete with questions.
We thank you all so much for being here, and you are going to change your lives today. We're saying that because we know it's going to happen because it's all in consciousness, and we've put so much together for all of you that now you can take off with it. And it's the energetic shifts of this day are going to allow you to do that. And you will see that when you move through what we have given you, you're going to feel so different about yourself, and you're going to know that your contribution to the world and what you're seeing out in your world now is going to change because you lived. And that's all we wanted you to understand. We love you so much.